Hey, the YouTube fans, Mike Palumbo. I just want to make a quick video about an issue that confuses a lot of people and confuses a lot of lawyers too. And what I want to talk about is what's the difference between an issue of fact and an issue of law. So in any type of litigation procedure, you're trying to establish facts or you're trying to undermine facts. You're alleging facts. So if a cop gives you a ticket, he's alleging you did something wrong. If there's a breach of contract, you're the plaintiff, you're alleging the other side breached the contract. And of course, if you're defending it, you're establishing facts that you didn't breach the contract. So courts are about establishing and finding facts so that conclusions of law can be drawn. So those would be issues of facts. Did he breach the contract? Did he speed? But an issue of law is more fundamental. An issue of law is, does the law even allow what is taking place to go on? That's an issue of law. And the best way to describe it is through a situation that I run into all the time. People call me after they got into motor vehicle accidents and they got a ticket. And the first thing I ask them is, did the cop was the cop on the scene? Did he see the accident? And they never do. They're always called after the fact. I say, well, we're not going to get involved in the weeds of whether or not you actually unsafely changed lanes or following too close. Doesn't matter, because the law does not allow a police officer in New York State to write a ticket unless he observed the infraction. Now, he could arrest you on a misdemeanor, like if he gets there and your license is suspended or you're drunk, they could do that. But they can't write an infraction, a speeding, unsafe lane change, unless they saw it. So I tell my clients, I don't need to know, and it doesn't matter. I don't need to know that it was an incorrectly written ticket because you don't think you did it. It was an incorrectly written ticket because as a matter of law, the cop had no authority to write that ticket. So the way I'm going to handle it, I'm going to march in there with a motion to dismiss. And I'm going to assert the law to the judge and to the prosecutor and conference it with him. I'm going to show him the statute. I'm going to show him the police report. I'm going to show him the evidence that the cop didn't see it. And that's pretty. Now, of course, to assert that issue of law, we have to first prove the fact the cop didn't see it in that case. So you always need some facts to assert your issue of law. But it's pretty easy to do in that case because the police, all the reports, they admit they didn't see the accident. It's never really going to be a question. And I say, okay, well, since the cop didn't see it, here's the law. He couldn't write this ticket. It has to be dismissed. And that's what happens in those cases 100% of the time. Sometimes, now, they actually can re-indict him a different way. There's a way they can do it on what they call prosecutor's information. I don't want to be too long and boring about it. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just use it as leverage to take a parking ticket. Because even though I could have had it dismissed, if I do a parking ticket, it's no points, it's a small fine, it's a final adjudication on the merits, they can't recharge my client. Because I don't want to get, the last thing a client wants to get a case dismissed, have a cop knock on your door 3 weeks later, and then serve you with papers. Because they can't get you, they just can't in New York State write the ticket. So 100% of the time, that's how I handle it. I walk in there with a motion, and I say, pick your poison, parking ticket or dismissal. Because if the judge or the prosecutor doesn't want to agree on a minor violation, then I gotta go forward with my motion to dismiss. And it's black and white. It's pretty bulletproof. But the main issue is that is an issue of law as opposed to an issue of fact. An issue of fact would be in a personal injury case, and there was an intersection accident, and the plaintiff says, I had a green light, and the defendant says, no, I had the green light. I didn't do anything wrong. You ran the light. No, you ran the light. And so that is an issue of fact for a trier of fact, i.e. a jury or a judge, if you do a bench trial, to make a determination as to make a finding of fact. So now you're asserting your evidence, they're asserting their evidence, you're asserting your defenses. If you're defended in something, you're trying to undermine their position. They're trying to prove their position or maybe undermine your position. And what ends up out of that is a finding of fact. These are factual issues. Did you speed? Cops say you did 75 and 55. You're doing a trial. You're making the verdict is going to be guilty or not guilty. When they say guilty or not guilty, that's a finding of fact. That's not a that is not a finding of law. That's a finding of fact. I love to argue legal issues because it's a much more powerful defense. I don't have to worry about it going the other way. I don't got to worry about losing. If if the law says this is what it is and this shouldn't have even been done like this, you have to win. Also, triers of fact are judges, are juries, and judges. If you do a bench trial, juries can only make findings of fact. They cannot make a conclusion of law. Only a judge makes a conclusion of law. So if I make a motion to dismiss because the cop didn't show, it wasn't at the scene of the accident, didn't see the infraction he charged, the judge can't punt and say, we're going to have a trial on this issue. You can put your evidence in, the prosecutor can put his evidence in, and we're going to send it off to a jury to decide. Juries do not make decisions of law. They only make findings of fact. They do not make findings of law. That is in the sole authority of the judge to make a decision as a matter of law. So that's the difference between a finding of a legal issue and a factual issue. Glad you watched this video, and going to be bringing you more great content. Until the next time.